It frightened her to imagine one of those attacks amplified so many times, if all 9 Biju were brought together to form such a devastating attack.
Only that's not what the statue is really for, since Kurama was kind enough to fill me in on what the statue really is and what it's truly meant to do. As it turns out, the Gedo Mazo is the body of the Jubi. The true Biju that was divided into 9 by the Sage of Sixth Paths years ago before his death to prevent the Jubi from reforming. But if all 9 are brought together, the statue comes back to life, and the Jubi would return to cause untold damage to everyone around it. Or rather, it would be caused by someone like, say, a certain Uchiha with an extremely powerful Sharinganai. One with the power to control the Jubi and use it as his personal weapon, said Vergil while Tsunade's eyes went wide in shock.
Like Madara did with the Kyuubi, whispered Tsunade with Vergil nodding. Yes. My guess is Madara had a plan of his own, which was why he saved Obito from death in the first place. But Mundus clearly saw another means for the statue, and decided to hijack the initial plan for his own purposes. Adding in the Demon Emperor's own false promise to bring Rin back to life, and Obito deviated from the original plan Madara set in motion before that. Whatever the main goal was when using the statue, should all 9 Biju be absorbed into its body, the plan is no longer a possibility. Obito is the last one left aside from Konan here from the Akatsuki. But as things are now, he needs new members, and the rings to help with the process of extracting the Biju from their Jinchuriki. Mundus will not be pleased with the delay, added Vergil with Tsunade nodding.
Will Mundus kill Obito? Asked Tsunade curiously.
Hard to say. Obito is possibly his own follower in the world. Without the Uchiha, the Demon Emperor will have no real influence to bring about his plans. If the statue were in fact destroyed, a key means of entering this world would be forever closed to him with almost no chance of entering here. He knows this, I knows, but Obito does not know it. If the Uchiha is as stubborn and whiny about his dead female teammate, he will demand that Mundus honor his promise to him. When that happens, I imagine it will not end well for Obito. The Uchiha will either be severely punished or killed for his incompetence, said Vergil, since he wasn't sure how the Demon Emperor would react to Obito's failure to acquire the Biju for the plan to work.
But would Mundus kill him? No, he wouldn't kill the man. Not unless he wanted to use him for a sacrifice. What is with that look? Asked Tsunade with Vergil looking grim. Mundus doesn't need the 9 Biju. Not if he wants to just enter our world himself. What the Demon Emperor needs right now is the residual demonic energy from all 9 Biju left within the Gedo Mazo. In addition, he needs a strong human sacrifice of someone who has enough energy to create a portal large enough for him to enter. With all 9 Biju within the statue, Mundus could open the portal for himself, and a massive army of demons to carry out his bidding. But given how things are, he will most likely just enter without them. Humanity doesn't really have the means to oppose him. Even Fuinjutsu is no match for the Demon Emperor, replied Vergil with Tsunade's eyes widening. And with Obito's recent failures to get all 9, added Konan, since she realized what he was referring to right now. Mundus will just cut out the middleman and sacrifice Obito to enter the world, said Tsunade while Vergil nodded. Exactly. He doesn't need his demon army to win. His power alone is enough. The army is just overkill. To weaken us. To weaken me, so when the time comes to fight him, I am either dead, or too weak to win, replied Vergil before he moved to leave the room. And just where do you think you're going? Asked Tsunade with Vergil stopping at the door. I have to face Mundus. Alone, said Vergil to the shock and horror of the two behind him. Alone? Are you insane? Do you honestly expect to challenge a Demon Emperor to a fight? And to win? Questioned, demanded Tsunade with Vergil smirking. Maybe. But if I don't get to aim soon and deal with Mundus right away, he will be too strong to fight later. Even for me, the crossing from one realm to the next will weaken and disorient him. If I can act during this small window of opportunity, I can at the very least weaken Mundus further to the point where he has to retreat back into the demonic realm, said Vergil while Tsunade didn't like this one bit. And just how do you plan to get to aim in record time? Asked Tsunade with Vergil just smirking at her. Easy. One giant toad boss for a summons and giving said toad boss a lot of motivation to hop there like he's never hopped before today, answered Vergil before he quickly left the room. Go with him. You know aim and the territory. Make sure he takes the fastest route and take Jiraiya with you. Drag his ass from the hot springs and tell him it's a matter of life and death, commanded Tsunade with Conan nodded before she vanished in a swirl of paper. Now Tsunade just had to hope and pray those three could get to aim and do something about this demon emperor.
Aim sometime later.
Obito was on the ground in pain, thrashing violently as Mundus punished him through the portal. The circular fuinjutsu the Uchiha had been kneeling on to communicate with the demon emperor was glowing crimson red. The three-eyed demon emperor glaring his burning eyes at the man he called a subordinate and pawn in the human world capable of carrying out his plans. You failed me, Uchiha. I asked only one thing from you. 1. The gathering of all 9 Biju to be sealed into the Gedo Mazo to be used as a conduit in a ritual to bring me and my army into this realm. And in exchange, I would bring back your precious human female mate Rin. Yet I find out that not only have you failed me, but the other members of the Akatsuki are dead, the 9 Biju are not captured, and the bloodline descendant of Sparda now knows of my existence. Exclaimed Mundus angrily at the Uchiha on the ground.
It wasn't my fault. We were betrayed, protested Obito before crying out in pain. And you didn't kill the traitor when you had the chance. Which means the plan is in danger of failing, countered Mundus angrily while he continued punishing Obito.
I can fix this. I can make it right, rasped Obito weakly while lying on his side after a moment where the attack stopped. Yes, you will fix this, my servant. You will fix this by being my human sacrifice, replied Mundus with Obito looking at him in shock. What? But you promised to bring back Rin. You promised we would be together. You promised, protested Obito while trying to get up off the ground. Only to find the Fuinjutsu circle he used to communicate with Mundus was somehow holding him in place. And you shall be reunited with her, in death, said Mundus before the ritual started underneath Obito.
No, this is not what you promised, protested Obito with Mundus letting out a demonic chuckle.
So what? I do not honor promises made with foolish weaklings too stupid to realize the truth. Besides, do you think the outcome would have been any different had I not taken over for Uchiha Madara? The fool would never have allowed your own desires to clash with his own had he been revived like your plan originally called for, with Nagato being killed and the Rinnegan taken from him. At least I provided you with some hope. False hope, mind you, but as they say, better something over nothing, replied Mundus while he began to sacrifice Obito and the Gedo Mazo to create a large portal needed to enter the world. And bring it to its knees. You lying sack of shit, exclaimed Obito while body began to be consumed in the circle while the Gedo Mazo nearby was covered in the same glowing Fuinjutsu circle. I did promise to reunite you with your human female. But as I recall about our deal, I never said how I would grant it. But I am a merciful being regardless of my origins and title, so I will reunite you with the one called Rin. Now enjoy your death as much as I do right now, said Mundus while enjoying the sound of Obito crying out in pain at being absorbed as a sacrifice with the Gedo Mazo soon following.
The demon portal was open. The demon emperor Mundus had finally crossed over into the human world.
And just as the roof of the large underground base collapsed with a giant toad plus 3 passengers on its back entering in dramatic fashion. Well shit, we get here at top speed to prevent your ugly uninvited ass to this realm and look what happens. You come here anyway, commented Vergil with Mundus glowering at him.
Descendant of Sparda. Blood of the traitor, exclaimed Mundus, while glowering at the devil of Sparta blood in front of him currently smirking back.
Considering it's you, I will take it as a compliment. Now, let's get down to business and end this, said Vergil with the smirk gone and his sword drawn. Yes, let's end this. Your bloodline dies here, exclaimed Mundus, who despite being tired from his recent entry into the realm was not about to lose to someone whom was of Sparda's bloodline. You are only half right, Mundus. It does end here, said Vergil while Mundus growled. This will not end well, commented Gamabunta gravely with concern in his voice while drawing his own weapon.
Fighting the QB was one thing, but this demon emperor. Seriously? What was this day and age? Send the toads to do battle against demons and monsters era. When does it ever? Commented Jiraiya while glaring at Mundus.
Nagato, Yahiko. For years we have always driven ourselves to find peace. To make it happen within our lifetime. The dream might not become real like we hoped and our dream has become corrupted up until now, but at least I know this is a good step in the right direction in fixing it, thought Conan while she steeled herself for the battle that was to come.
Dibs on all three of his eyes, exclaimed Vergil with a grin on his face, while Mundus howled in fury and rushed the group in front of him.
With the land soon exploding into chaos and violence. Chapter 12 Devil May Rest. Vergil opened his eyes. He looked around and saw his body was in a hospital. Konoha's hospital from the looks of it. Kami knows his ass had been in one since he was a child. Glancing around further, Vergil noticed his right arm was missing, and frowned at the memory manifesting within his mind. Fire raging all around him. Shouts from Jiraiya and Conan while they fought Mundus. The demon emperor roaring loudly in rage at being defied by two humans and a devil half-breed descendant of Sparda. The feeling of his sword in hand meeting resistance against flesh of Mundus while slicing into him in rapid succession. An intense blast of demonic energy shot from Mundus via his three eyes, blinding him for a few seconds. Pain running through his own body. Darkness taking him soon after.
Vergil winced at the memory, recalling how his right arm had been lost in the blast. It had cauterized almost instantly, so dying of blood loss was not an issue. His sword had survived, of course. Nothing could truly destroy it, not even Mundus. Vergil was actually finding it quite useful that he was ambidextrous, and able to wield Yamato with his left hand to compensate for the loss of his right.
At least until his arm regenerated. A perk of having such potent devil's blood and being a Jinchuriki. You are awake, I see. Good, remarked Senju Tsunade after coming in moments later to see her patient awake. How long was I out? Asked Vergil calmly and sitting up despite the pain and effort it brought to his body. 1 week. You looked almost dead when Conan brought you in. Actually, a dead body looked more alive over your own when I first saw you. I almost assumed as much until I felt the faintest of heartbeats. I almost missed it, said Tsunade with Vergil nodding. I imagine so. My memories are somewhat fragmented surrounding the fight with the Demon Emperor. Since Conan and myself are alive, it means Mundus is dead, or at least defeated for now, replied Vergil with Tsunade nodding with a sad look on her face.
Jiraiya is dead. Conan has some major injuries herself, but nothing life-threatening. Not anymore at least, added Tsunade with Vergil narrowing his eyes.
I see. Yes, I remember. He was in Senenmoto at the time. He was attempting to bind Mundus to a seal saturated with nature chakra. To possibly slow him down or temporarily immobilize him. One or the other. Mundus countered him halfway through. The seal did work for a few moments, but it cost Jiraiya his life. Gamabunta, Ma, and Pa all got away though, so we were fortunate to not suffer further losses. Gamabunta got Mundus good with his sword before being forced to retreat, replied Vergil while his memories slowly came together in his mind. Conan said the same thing. Despite being without an arm, she was fairly impressed with you being able to summon what was described as a giant devil-like figure wielding your sword and slicing deeply into Mundus's body, before he moved to retreat, said Tsunade with Vergil frowning.
He tried, meaning he failed, asked Vergil while trying to piece everything together.
You don't remember? Asked Tsunade with Vergil shaking his head no. After I lost my right arm, everything nearly went blank for me. I was in a lot of pain as you can imagine. Jiraiya and Conan were still fighting. After Jiraiya died from Mundus's attack, something inside of my mind just snapped in my head. The next thing I know, I am covered in a blue fire with an incredible surge of power running through my body in that moment, and everything soon after goes blank, replied Vergil while Tsunade just frowned in thought.
Could it be the devil trigger? You were under a lot of stress, and from what you told me once, it happens when under a lot of it, offered Tsunade with Vergil nodding. Most definitely. I guess I was so sick and tired of dealing the pain running through my body, and that of losing those close to me. I was filled with so much hate. More hatred burned in my heart for the Demon Emperor in that moment, than the hate I once had for this village. Did I kill Mundus? Questioned Vergil with Tsunade surprising him by nodding.
You did. Conan saw it. You were practically exploding with power. Both your own and the Kyuubi inside of you. The two combined energies mixed with your sword from what Conan had seen, and you dealt the killing blow with a giant ethereal sword stabbing into Mundus's brain. Right between all three of his eyes, I might add, before you collapsed and the Demon Emperor body began to disintegrate, said Tsunade. Vergil now letting out a chuckle. Well, I did call dibs on his eyes. And it's only fitting since he took my arm. Now I have to wait at least a week before this stump for a limb becomes something useful. It's going to hurt when it does due to the nerve endings, which sucks big time, said Vergil with Tsunade smirking slightly before becoming serious.
Apparently from what Conan saw during the fighting, you not only killed Mundus by stabbing into his skull to his brain, but the energy from the ethereal demonic sword itself fried his eyes like someone shot fire right into them. Even if he did somehow live, the Demon Emperor would have been totally blind, and no doubt severely weakened if he successfully escaped, commented Tsunade with Vergil nodding.
And leaving him wide open to power-hungry demon lords itching to take his throne by killing him themselves. No doubt word will have spread to the demon realm of Mundus being killed here. The power vacuum made from this and the blood spilled there will last for 10,000 years. At least, concluded Vergil, knowing Mundus had a vast power base few could challenge, but it was all centered around him. Without Mundus ruling, every demonic entity with a brain and ambition will be on the warpath to become the next Demon Emperor. Even when it happened, none of them were going to take the position anytime soon. Mundus had been the most powerful of all the demons within the demonic realm by far, and no one demon lord there could ever hope to fill his shoes. Only Sparda could at this point, but well, we all know how that story went, and no one in the demon realm wanted anyone with his blood ruling in Mundus's place. Well, that's something, I guess, commented Tsunade before the door opened behind her and all of Vergil's wives and slaves ran over and glomped him on the bed.
Vergil Khan! Exclaimed all the women at once, even Kin and Tayuya, despite their own positions within the household being lower in status.
Not that Vergil ever treated them as such despite it. Death by suffocation via breasts. Not a bad way to go, thought Vergil while he was now being smothered on all sides by all the female assets pressed against his face. Okay, knock it off. You can smothering him later. Preferably when I'm not here or around to see your perverted act. Exclaimed Tsunade after getting a tick mark on her head. Jealous much? Whispered to Yuya, though Tsunade heard it.
What did you just say? Demanded Tsunade with Tayuya not backing down. You heard me, bitch. You are just jealous because you are an old hag with saggy tits and can't get a man, exclaimed Tayuya while pointing a finger at Tsunade.
Oh, you are so dead, exclaimed Tsunade while she cracked her knuckles and Tayuya stuck her tongue out at her. You'll never take me alive, you old biddy, exclaimed Tayuya before she leapt out of the window. That's fine by me because I don't intend to take you alive. Tsunade shot back while in hot pursuit of her. Don't hold this against Tayuya. She was just worried about you, Vergil-sama, said Kin while Vergil chuckled. I understand. She gets a free pass this one time. Besides, the sounds of the chase are quite amusing, commented Vergil, with the sound of the ground being destroyed outside and yelling of Tsunade for Tayuya to take her beating echoed throughout the village. With Tayuya constantly mocking Tsunade by calling her an old hag, senile bitch, saggy boobs, gray-haired wrinkle face, and slow granny big butt, to name a few. Which naturally pissed off Tsunade something fierce, and she chased Tayuya all over Konoha while trying to super punch her from end of Konoha to the other, if not into the ICU. What do we do about Konan-san? She was your enemy at one point, asked Haku while she was unsure what the woman gained from supporting Vergil. And it's because of her that I even made it back here alive, Haku-chan. I know that much. I will talk to Tsunade later, once she calms down in her attempt to smash Tayuya into tiny pieces, replied Vergil while the sounds of the chase continued to echo outside. Yeah, better to wait until cooler heads prevailed.
Epilogue years later. Vergil was in his clan home watching his children training to be strong like their parents, and under the supervision of said parents. After all, it was necessary for them to be strong at such a young age, given the rival villages trying to gain more strength over the other. There had been at least 5 different kidnapping attempts on his children this one year alone, but fortunately each time, such kidnappings failed, with the would-be kidnappers being brutally slaughtered, and their remains, which wasn't much, were sent back to their village to make them back off.
The only exception being the now former Mizukage Terumi Mei, who chose the path of love with Vergil over ruling over Kiri, and chose a competent successor while she got married to the man of her dreams. Now she had a loving man, 2 strong children, and the life her heart always wanted. The only downside was Mei couldn't threat out anymore for his stupid comments about the old ways and her mishearing him. Oh well, you can't have everything. They are getting stronger by the day, commented Konan while seeing her daughter was able to manipulate her paper with ease and throwing them as projectiles, while the girl's younger brother had taken up turning his into a sharp sword that cut through a training post with ease. Not surprising. They do take after you, remarked Vergil while Konan blushed a bit. Flatterer, whispered Konan while she saw Anko was teaching her son the sadistic art of scaring other people to the point where they wet their pants.
Kami, that boy would be a terror to his enemies when Anko got through training him.
Not that we don't mind you being here with us and the kids, but shouldn't you be in the Hokage Tower, and doing that big pile of paperwork all cages have to battle every single day? Asked Hannah curiously while Vergil just smirked at her. Yes and no. Yes, I should be there, and no, I don't. I have a small army of shadow clones taking care of it. It's how my dad dealt with it when he was Hokage during his short time wearing the hat, answered Vergil while seeing the shocked looks on the women, since they had wanted to know for years how he was able to do it and spend time with them. Does Tsunade know about this? Asked Hinata curiously, since she knew Tsunade hated paperwork like any other cage, but only because it cut into the woman's drinking time. Are you kidding? She thought I would crack under the first day wearing the hat. Imagine her surprise when she sees me in the bar an hour later sipping sake and I tell her all the paperwork for the day was done. She didn't believe me, and I bet her 2 years worth of fire country's sake that I was right. If she lost, Tsunade had to give up drinking sake for that same amount of time, no matter the occasion, answered Vergil while the women were shocked. No wonder Tsunade looked so murderous that day and looked like she wanted to punch you to the other side of the world. Shizune had to hold her back while launched a lot of curses at you instead, commented Anko now after overhearing the conversation. Yeah, she claimed I cheated using shadow clones, but I told her they were solid copies of myself exactly, which makes them different from other clone-based jutsus. As such, the shadow clones had the authority to handle said paperwork since they think like I do in dealing with it, replied Vergil while recalling the memory.
Why didn't you tell her about this before when she was Hokage? Asked Hannah curiously, while knowing Tsunade would have killed for this information.
Are you kidding? If Tsunade found out and used it to fight the paperwork, poor Shizune would have been overwhelmed. She is the Hokage's assistant, which means she would no doubt have dealt with the original and the clones every single day. Running from a bar where Tsunade would be drinking to the Hokage Tower where the shadow clones would be doing the paperwork. Or at least trying to do it before they decided to mutiny and try to drink sake from the hidden stashes around her office, replied Vergil while the women and some of his kids' sweat dropped at hearing this. Surely Tsunade-sama wouldn't go that far? Asked Kin while she and Tayuya had gone from being slaves, servants to wives of the one they loved. After the 2-year enforced sobriety was over, Tsunade went to the nearest bar and cleaned it out of every single bottle they had. She's now banned from said bar and those around it for 50 miles. So you tell me, answered Vergil while Kin's sweat drop got even bigger. Good point, Kin, since she heard the rumor about that, but didn't really believe it. I'm just glad we don't have to deal with any more manipulation from any demons or the invasions from said demons to control our world, commented Tayuya after they got the full story from Vergil about Mundus being killed. While that is mostly true now, it doesn't mean our descendants won't have to face such trials, remarked Vergil, knowing one day the demon realm will stabilize or become as stable as it can get before whoever sits on the throne makes plans for this world.
I have faith in the next generation, and the one following them, Vergil-kun. If all of us here can endure some form of hardship in our lives, then so can they when tested, said Haku while the other girls nodded.
I agree, but for now, the devil may rest and be happy, exclaimed Vergil with a smile on his face. Up until recently, the world would always be a harsh place while making everyone run from one area to the next. But for now, it had a chance to slow down, if only fraction, and let everyone around him enjoy life together. As a family.
His family.